In the last episode, we witnessed Dohee's heartfelt hope that one day, Jun Won will cry and feel upset because of her. Dohee then asks Jun Won to promise that if that ever happens, he must confess he has fallen in love with her. Yet, despite her bold request, Dohee questions herself, is it truly possible for someone like her to teach this man how to love like a normal person? Jun Won listens calmly, and then, with a sincerity that shakes her, he finally confesses that he deeply likes Dohee. No matter how much he thinks about it, he can't imagine life without her. As Dohee's heart pounds in her chest at his words, Jun Won adds that he always feels sorry for not being perfect but hopes she will continue to stay by his side. Later, Jun Won asks Dohee if she would like to go on a date with him once her leg is fully healed. They could enjoy a meal together, watch a movie, and visit a cafe, just like any ordinary couple. Dohee, surprised, remarks that she thought he disliked such things, seeing them as a waste of time and energy. With a gentle, reassuring smile, Jun Won replies, how could time spent with you ever be a waste? I've never thought that way. He then reminds her, teasingly, that the idea of relationship rules was hers. Embarrassed, Dohee says nothing. Jun Won leans in closer and, with heartfelt insistence, says that once her leg is healed, they should definitely go on a date. With her heart racing, Dohee finally agrees to go on a date with Jun Won. It was a sunny and beautiful day when Dohee resumed working. One of Dohee's colleagues mentioned that a new cafe had opened on the next street and suggested they treat themselves to something sweet. Another colleague hesitantly pointed out that she would love to, but Dohee doesn't like sweets. Dohee smiled and said that she had been away for a while and was piled up with work, so they could go ahead and enjoy themselves without her. In reality, Dohee loves sweets but has always pretended she doesn't to give off a good impression. At the office, Dohee was exhausted from working when her eyes suddenly fell upon a piece of chocolate and a note on her desk. The note read, "Welcome back." Dohee read it and immediately thought, only Jun Won knows that I really like sweets. Did he leave this here? After eating the chocolate, Dohee suddenly felt like she was in heaven. A while later, Mr. Ha and Dohee went to the storage room on the roof to find some samples. Dohee glanced at Mr. Ha, expecting his help in searching for the samples, but Mr. Ha, being his usual self, remarked that Dohee should just ask the junior associates to do this kind of task. Why did he have to accompany her? Annoyed, Dohee snapped that he should just hold the door open, as the storage room door was broken and they could get trapped inside if it got locked. Suddenly, the fire alarms started buzzing, and an announcement urged everyone to evacuate to the nearest emergency exit due to a fire in the building. Mr. Ha saw smoke outside the window and, in a sudden panic, shouted, "Fire! Fire!" and ran away, leaving the door to slam shut. Dohee tried to stop Mr. Ha, but her leg slipped from the ladder, and she fell to the ground, locking herself inside the storage room. Outside the company building, one of Dohee's colleagues questioned Mr. Ha about Dohee, as she had seen them go to the roof together. Mr. Ha immediately remembered that, in his panic, he had left Dohee alone in the storage room, and the door must be locked by now. Standing nearby, Jun Won overheard everything and, furious, demanded, "Did you really leave an injured person behind and escape all by yourself?" In the storage room, Dohee heard the announcement about the fire and grew tense, thinking, is this really the way I'm going to die, locked up in a storage room? Suddenly, she heard banging noises on the door. She started shouting for help, hoping someone was outside. Abruptly, the door slammed open, and Jun Won appeared. He told her, "Let's go," then picked her up in his arms and carried her downstairs. As they made their way to the lobby, they encountered Mr. Ha and another colleague. Dohee questioned, "What are you doing in the building if there's a fire?" The colleague explained that it was a malfunction. Apparently, they had come to inform Dohee and Jun Won that some of the employees were checking event supplies downstairs and a few smoke bombs had gone off, triggering the alarm. In the tranquil evening at Jun Won's apartment, he meticulously washed dishes after dinner. Dohee's mind wandered back to the morning's incident, vividly recalling Jun Won bursting into the storage room to save her. For the first time, she had seen a look of sheer surprise and panic on Jun Won's face. The fact that he had lost his composure because of her left her feeling strangely moved. As Dohee affectionately hugged Jun Won from behind, he turned, his voice laced with curiosity, "What's going on right now? This is the first time you've approached me like this." Dohee, her voice gentle yet probing, asked, "Why did you come running in such a hurry back there?" Jun Won paused before admitting, "I don't know exactly why, but it crossed my mind that you might be hurt, and I think that scared me." With her heart pounding, Dohee teased, "I should have taken a picture of your face in the storage room." Leaning in closer, she whispered in Jun Won's ear, "It was really hard for me to hold back when I saw that expression on your face." Jun Won, catching the playful yet intense tone, asked, "Are you trying to seduce me or something?" Dohee, matching his intensity, replied, "What if I am?" Without missing a beat, Jun Won grabbed Dohee's shoulders, a determined look in his eyes, and declared, "Then of course I won't refuse." With that, he passionately kissed her, the evening charged with an unexpected and irresistible desire. After a while, Jun Won asked, "Do you remember asking me what my dream was before?" He continued, "To answer that, I've always thought I was a very unhappy person, but I didn't really care if I was happy or not. In fact, I never believed that I ever would be happy, so, it seemed like my dream had become to just live and die this way. I thought I would spend every day the same way, without anything really happening, and just die like that. But now, my life has changed after meeting you. Just for that, I think I am a lucky man." Dohee listened, her heart heavy with memories. After being abandoned by her parents when she was young, she had cursed being born into this world. Despite that, she tried to live her life to the fullest, driving herself forward with that single resolution. But she was crushingly lonely the entire time. Even when she felt lonely, she feared her friends would consider her a burden, so she kept her distance from everyone. Dohee couldn't believe that there would be someone who would consider meeting her as lucky. At 30 years old, for the first time in her life, Dohee fell in love. Outside, snow was falling softly, creating a serene backdrop to Dohee's tumultuous emotions. Inside, she felt an overwhelming affection for Jun Won, so intense it threatened to consume her sanity. The next morning, as Jun Won sat at breakfast, Dohee found herself unable to look away, marveling at how effortlessly handsome he looked in the morning light, as if he were crafted as the world's perfect creation. Noticing Dohee's intense gaze, Jun Won quizzically asked, "Why are you staring at me? Is there something on my face?" Dohee replied with a teasing smile, "Yes, perfection is on your face." Jun Won, taken aback, furrowed his brow in confusion. Sensing his reaction, Dohee quickly amended, "I mean, there's something on your face," as she gently wiped Jun Won's lips and kissed her finger. Observing her unusual behavior, Jun Won remarked, "You've been acting strangely since yesterday. What's going on?" Dohee deflected with a playful tone, "Maybe I'm just excited about the snow." Then, reminding Jun Won about the picture for his father, she retrieved her camera to capture the moment. At the hospital, after receiving the photo, Jun Won's father smiled with thinly veiled approval and openly praised Dohee and Jun Won's relationship. Sitting beside him, Jun Won's mother cautiously questioned whether he was seriously considering allowing Jun Won to marry that girl. Before she could elaborate, Jun Won's father sharply interjected, asserting he would ensure she received her share of the property, implying she shouldn't act so graspingly. Confused and hurt, Jun Won's mother retorted that she didn't mean it that way, questioning his harsh tone. Immediately, Jun Won's father commanded her to stop pretending to play the role of a mother-in-law to that girl and demanded her silence. He coldly reminded her that she would treat Jun Won like a stranger after he passed away. Hesitatingly, Jun Won's mother asked why he was saying such hurtful things. Jun Won's father's response was cutting and accusatory. He knew about her covert actions that had sabotaged Jun Won's previous engagements, including Yuna's 2 years ago. Flustered and defensive, Jun Won's mother protested, feeling deeply wounded by his accusations, insisting she only ever thought of Jun Won as her own son. She tried to explain further, expressing her ongoing concerns for Jun Won's well-being, believing he still struggled with unresolved issues from high school. In a fit of anger, Jun Won's father snapped back, accusing her of potentially harming Jun Won with her stress-inducing behavior and ordered her to leave if she couldn't stop talking nonsense. Despite her attempts to clarify, he threatened to sign divorce papers before he passed away if she continued to upset him. Defeated and shaken, Jun Won's mother left the room, overwhelmed with thoughts about why Jun Won's father had tolerated her actions for so long without taking action. Furious and hurt by the accusations from Jun Won's father, Jun Won's mother seated silently, feeling her hard-earned position within the family threatened by Dohee. "How dare that girl try to lay claim to my fortune," she angrily murmured to herself. Meanwhile, back at Jun Won's apartment, Dohee's cheeks reddened with embarrassment as Jun Won stared at her intently. Sensing his gaze, she asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Jun Won grinned mischievously and confessed, "I was just wishing the time would loop back to last night so we could stay like this until morning, spending another night together. It's the first time I've ever wished for a time loop." Heart racing, Dohee couldn't help but inquire, "What was it like when you experienced your first time loop?" Jun Won's expression suddenly grew distant and he remained silent, leaving Dohee hanging with her question. After a few moments, Jun Won stood up, gently patting Dohee's head. "You need to go to the hospital to have your bandage removed," he reminded her softly. "I'll drive you there. Get ready." Dohee felt a pang of regret, wondering if she had touched on a topic Jun Won wasn't ready to discuss. She had opened up to him about her own pain and wounds, yet it seemed Jun Won didn't fully trust her enough to share everything in return. Just then, Dohee's phone rang, startling her. Glancing at it, she was shocked to see a barrage of messages from her father, cursing her and accusing her of neglecting her mother's hospital bills. His final words cut deep: "If you don't want to pay for her treatment, don't bother coming to her funeral." The messages left Do-hee reeling, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions and a weight of family expectations crashing down on her once again. A few days later, Jun Won's colleagues began lavishing him with compliments on his appearance and impeccable demeanor. Suddenly, one of them turned to Do-hee with a probing question: was she dating Jun Won? Flustered by the implication, Do-hee exclaimed, "What on earth are you talking about?" The colleague pointed out the incident during the false fire alarm when Jun Won had carried Do-hee out of the building, hinting that it suggested something more than a professional relationship between them. They pressed further, curious if there was a romantic connection brewing. Annoyed by the insinuation, Do-hee tersely reminded them of her firm stance that office romances lead to self-destruction and disaster. Just then, Jun Won approached from behind, calmly instructing them to ensure the customer satisfaction research results were on his desk by the end of the day. He then turned to Do-hee and proposed discussing something about the bio-food project privately, suggesting they go to the terrace. Once on the terrace, without hesitation, Jun Won pulled Do-hee close and kissed her passionately. Startled, Do-hee pulled back slightly and questioned what they would do if someone caught them in such a compromising position. Jun Won smirked knowingly, teasing, "Why? Is it because office romances supposedly lead to self-destruction and are a direct path to disaster?" With a mischievous smirk, Do-hee asks Jun Won when exactly he managed to eavesdrop on their conversation. Assertively, she adds that she always believed office romances were a disaster waiting to happen, emphasizing that it's entirely because of him that she's now entangled in one. Jun Won whispers back to Do-hee, reassuring her that getting caught wouldn't be catastrophic as he could easily switch jobs, confident that his skills are in demand anywhere. Suddenly, the door swings open, and Kong strides in, catching them off guard. Do-hee becomes flustered upon seeing Kong, fearing they've been caught red-handed. Before she can muster an excuse, Kong points at Jun Won's lips and comments playfully about something being there. Do-hee's tension mounts, but Kong bursts into laughter, teasing Jun Won about his meticulous grooming, jokingly suggesting he's wearing colored lip gloss. Surprised by Kang's familiarity with Jun Won, Do-hee inquires if they know each other. Jun Won whispers affirmatively, mentioning their high school connection and Kang's reputation for cluelessness. Kong presses on, asking what they're doing on the terrace. Do-hee quickly responds that they were discussing the new project. Without missing a beat, Kong asks Do-hee to expedite Chief Yuna's recipe to their team, stressing their leader's urgency. Do-hee agrees and promptly leaves. Once Do-hee is out of earshot, Kong leans in towards Jun Won and remarks in a hushed tone about Do-hee's increasing beauty, hinting at her romantic life. Playfully, Kong wishes misfortune upon any potential partner of Do-hee's, suggesting he hopes the man goes bald and becomes impotent. Jun Won, catching Kang's comment, playfully kicks Kang's leg as he walks away. Annoyed, Kong demands an explanation, to which Jun Won nonchalantly replies that his foot was simply bothering him. Later that evening, a colleague from Do-hee's company inquired about the progress of the recipe to Yuna. Yuna explained that she was in the process of preparing the new recipe, but due to the recent accident at her restaurant, it was taking some time. Yuna first met Jun Won on a blind date arranged by her parents. His handsome looks and their shared work in the food industry felt like fate. Yuna appreciated his calm demeanor and reserved nature, which is why, despite knowing it was a marriage of convenience, she accepted without hesitation. She believed that even without love initially, affection could develop over time, and she hoped Jun Won would eventually come to love her. However, Jun Won's mother had once told Yuna that he would never fall in love with her. She claimed that when Jun Won's mother passed away, he didn't shed a tear, implying he wouldn't care if something happened to Yuna, even in a tragic accident. Feeling provoked, Yuna warned Jun Won's mother not to visit her in this manner with only a month left until the wedding. She also questioned whether Jun Won's father was aware of his mother's actions. In response, Jun Won's mother scoffed and belittled Yuna, suggesting she wasn't as smart as she thought. She slapped Yuna, asserting her position as Yuna's future mother-in-law and dismissing Yuna's objections. With tears in her eyes, Yuna threatened to reveal everything to Jun Won. Her hurt wasn't just physical, she knew deep down that Jun Won would not support her, even if she confessed everything, because he did not love her. Next day, Do-hee confronted Yuna, demanding to know when she could deliver the recipe, emphasizing the urgent need to meet the project schedule. Yuna, visibly irritated yet maintaining a sarcastic tone, remarked that Do-hee was well aware of the restaurant's plight following the accident, suggesting it would take time. Do-hee acknowledged the situation but stressed the contractual deadline. Yuna's response was defiant, suggesting she might quit and terminate the contract. Do-hee criticized Yuna's ongoing recklessness, noting that she hadn't changed since childhood, still acting selfishly. Yuna retorted, accusing Dohee of similar behavior, claiming she was arrogant without achievements to justify it. When Dohee remained silent, Yuna probed further, questioning if she had slept with Jun Won. Before Dohee could respond, Yuna asserted that Jun Won could separate physical desire from love, cautioning Dohee against confessing love to him. She explained that Jun Won had grown distant after Yuna admitted her feelings, advising Dohee not to make the same mistake. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Jun Won entered the room. Yuna's demeanor instantly brightened with joy upon seeing him join the meeting. Jun Won handed over the documents to Yuna and directed her attention to the screen for additional information. Observing the change in Yuna's behavior, Dohee watched quietly. After a moment, Yuna confided in Jun Won, admitting her struggles in creating new recipes and seeking his advice, suggesting they could discuss separately when needed. Jun Won politely redirected her to contact Mr. Ha, the project lead. Reluctantly, Yuna agreed, though she clearly preferred Jun Won's direct assistance. Glancing towards Dohee, Jun Won remarked that he would call Mr. Ha so she could leave if she was busy. Dohee assured him she would stay. Yuna, observing Jun Won's unusual consideration towards Dohee, reflected on how he, who had always been distant and indifferent, now seemed genuinely attentive to Dohee's feelings. Being engaged to Jun Won became a nightmare for Yuna. Every day, Jun Won's stepmother would come over and create scenes, worsening Yuna's anxiety and depression over time. As Yuna's love for Jun Won deepened, she eventually confessed her feelings to him. However, the expression she saw on Jun Won's face at that moment would haunt her forever. He treated her as if she were invisible, driving her to madness and deepening her loneliness with each passing day. Yuna loved Jun Won deeply, but the loneliness became unbearable. Knowing it was something a future bride should never do, she sought solace elsewhere. Caught in the act by Jun Won, Yuna didn't intend to provoke jealousy or anger, she was merely trying to fill the void. Yet, to Jun Won, she was neither a joy nor a source of anger, she meant nothing. This realization hurt Yuna deeply. Despite being the one to shout at Jun Won and call for the breakup, it felt no different from being dumped herself. At the restaurant, Nuri playfully needles Ian about finishing his game, joking that it feels like they haven't seen each other in 5 years. Ian proudly announces he beat the final boss. Dohee chimes in, teasingly remarking that all he does is eat and play games, huh? Ian retorts that she shouldn't nag if she hasn't helped him with anything. Later, Ian suggests they plan a trip for Dohee's upcoming birthday since he'll be in the Philippines soon for tournament training. Nuri interjects, pointing out that Dohee now has a boyfriend, so she'll probably spend her birthday with him instead of them. Ian recalls this and agrees. Dohee takes a sip of her drink and proposes they go out for drinks since her boyfriend doesn't get hurt or jealous over such things, he's just that cool. Nuri and Ian look at Dohee, and if she's okay with it, they agree it sounds good. As the night progresses, Nuri starts complaining about her boyfriend when suddenly she receives a call from him. While Nuri is on the phone, Ian contemplates quietly. He finally got the musical tickets Dohee wanted to see, but should he ask her to go with him since she already has a boyfriend? Ultimately, he decides to ask as a friend. Turning to Dohee, he starts to ask about her plans for Saturday, but Dohee's phone rings, it's Jun Won calling. Dohee excuses herself to answer the call. Jun Won informs her he's outside the restaurant and asks if she can come out for a moment.